All right, everyone, welcome to the Leadership Excellence Podcast with George Trachilis and Tom Lawless. I want to just share with you that every week, if you want to know what we're going to talk about, go to leadershipx.tv, our next amazing podcast topic. So it'll be there, our next amazing podcast topic. So, with that, Tom, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, welcome everybody. And today's topic is three inspiring ways to build commitment and keep people engaged. Commitment doesn't come from pressure, incentives, or forcing compliance. It comes from leadership that gives people purpose, connection, and a reason to care. People can go any place they want to work. And if you just tell them what to do, they'll do exactly what you tell them to do. So, in this episode, we're going to break down the three inspiring practices that help leaders create the kind of culture where people want to show up and give their best, and the three inspiring ways to build commitment and keep people engaged. One, share a clear and meaningful vision. Two, connect daily work to the bigger picture. And three, lead with consistency and care.
All right, Tom, that was great. All right, I'm going to cover what each of those means, and then I'm going to ask you for an example, Tom, because this is going to be really
Sure.
good. All right, share a clear and meaningful picture. So people are motivated when they understand why their work matters. A clear vision gives direction and purpose. It shows everyone what you're trying to achieve together. So it reminds me of that story of somebody going down and walking in Italy to some big church, and then somebody's carving, marble or something for the church, and you go through three different individuals. They're all doing the same job, but they have a different story of why they're doing it. One is to get paid, right? One is to feed their family. Another one is to build one of the best coliseums in the world or something like that, some bigger picture. So explain how your team's work helps customers, the company, and the community. This is key. Doing it for others is key. Tell real stories that show the difference of how your work matters. And then keep the message simple. It has to be simple, repeatable, and you repeat it often enough so everyone remembers it. You got to have a story. It's amazing that stories are how we connect our work to our purpose and to the community as a whole. So when people understand the bigger goal, they put more pride and energy into their work. Tom, do you have an example of this?
Yeah, and my examples today are going to be on the Army. And here's why. People think that the Army is or the military in general is authoritarian, right? You follow direction and you do what you're told. Well, that's you do what you're told within reason. I mean, when I say within reason, it has to be a lawful order. But um, But I'm going to give you an example of how in the military these types of, uh, um, giving the mean of, in this case, sharing the clear and meaningful vision works. So General Stanley McChrystal, when he took over the Joint Special Operation Command, it was during the height of the insurgency in Iraq, and the organization was siloed and slow and unable to keep up with decentralized enemy networks. So what General McChrystal did was he came up with what he called his crystal clear vision. And the Joint Special Operations Command he said, must operate as a single unified network where information flows instantly and teams act with shared purpose. He communicated this vision, and he had daily operations and intel briefs for open communication and shared consciousness. And every operator, analyst, pilot, and support team member understood their specific role and how it tied to defeating the threat. So a clear, meaningful vision becomes a force multiplier when every soldier understands why the mission matters and how they contribute to it. Now, you can relate that to the civilian side just as well, right? When people understand the why does my job matter? And how is my contribution going to help everything? Well, guess what? People want to contribute. They really do.
Well, that's really good. Now, I think about a lot of companies whose communication is all about the company. And I got one example in particular, which I can't share the name, but they were a $500 million company when I was working with them. Their crystal clear vision was to be $1 billion company. So not good. So not good. You can't connect with that. It's not meaningful for any employee. Now, the employees were getting a bonus of 30% to 40% each year based on profits. Okay, but the statement was still not good because it was communicating in the wrong quadrant. It was communicating, and when I say quadrant, there's four aspects to purposes and goals. It was communicating with what the company wants. Today, companies should be communicating with what they do for others and society in a tangible way, and more importantly, what they do for others and society in an intangible way, how they feel about it. So that would be the area to communicate from. All right, number two is connect daily work to the bigger picture. Uh, so every task here, big or small, plays a part in reaching the larger goal. So help your team see how their daily efforts move from the whole organization forward. Okay, link your team goals to the company's main vision. There's so many tools that you can use to do that. I love the open window 64 chart, the best tool in the world. Lean
It
companies
is.
don't know how to use it. Lean companies who say they're lean are not using the best way to communicate to others. So figure it out. Find out why the open window 64 chart has gotten me going and gotten the juices going. But that's the way to link goals to the company main vision. Celebrate the small wins. Now you can use any system. I love my one small improvement system in the Harada app. I mean, you make a small improvement, you talk a little bit about here's what the problem is. Describe it in a few words. Then here's what I did about it, a few words, and then here's the effect. And how does the effect measure against productivity, safety, quality, delivery, cost? So simplest thing, and the smallest improvement needs to be celebrated. And talk in team meetings about how everyone's work matters and makes an impact. So this is where
Yeah.
you share. So, Tom, you got an example?
Yeah. Once again, another military. It's good military commands integrate everything, maintenance, logisticians, and line units in a way that makes every soldier understand how their daily tasks affect their combat readiness. Right. So like commanders, they'll routinely bring mechanics, fuelers, medics, supply teams into their mission briefs. Right? Platoon leaders explain how a single delayed maintenance task could affect the mission. Right? When I was in Iraq, it's like some people think that like when you're if I have a truck go down, for instance, that I have other trucks. Well, guess what? I have a finite amount of trucks in that theater. I can't just say abracadabra, I have another one. So we have to maintain those. And everybody has to know that how important that is, that if that piece of equipment goes down, that's one less truck to move uh, supplies into the area of operations. That means it could be no food, no water, no ammo, no medical supplies. It could mean a lot of different things that we had for each truck, right? That we may not have. Um, and then leaders, like leaders walk, let's for instance say the motor pool, our mechanical area. Um, it's their vision of the Gemba, right?
Mhm.
So they walk those areas to show the soldiers how their work ties into the overall operations. People who engage deeply when they see that even small tasks have large consequences for the team, the mission, and those that serve beside them.
Yeah, that's really good. I really like what you said. There was, especially around the leadership and leaders and what they do. There's a statement that I always ask, or a question that I always ask, which is, how do you guarantee a project is going to get done? What's the number one factor when you look at a project that you know it's going to get done? And the answer is leadership. Who's in charge? That's the number one factor, believe it or not. I don't care about Gantt charts or anything else. It's
Yeah,
because they've already developed the routines and habits. They demonstrate what ideal looks like, and they go to it. And they've developed that. That's why success is there. All right, which means now we get to the next step. Lead with consistency and care. If you've got habits, you know, people follow leaders they can trust, which means they're consistent. That trust grows when you act with consistency and show genuine care. Interesting balance between consistency and showing genuine care. I know when I did my assessment in the Harada, it was care was my worst. This is going back 13 years. I really didn't care that much. I was pretty consistent. So do what you say you'll do and live the values you teach. Write down your values, figure what they are, and live those. I mean, that's how you gain leadership, and sponsorship and community. Be honest when things get tough. People respect transparency. Tom, I know when I'm open, honest, transparent, I collect so many followers. I mean, from the standpoint of being a leader in a company. Now, this one is a challenge. Stay calm and steady so your team feels supported, even in change. With stop calm and steadiness, they feel that their whole level, anxiety level, agitation level comes right down because they're following your lead. This is like
they
a
trust.
huge, yeah, this is a huge thing to remember. Now, also remember that you're a different person when you're anxious and angry. You're a different person. You react differently than when you're calm and steady. So when your team knows you're reliable and honest, they will stay loyal, positive, and motivated. Tom, what do you got for me as an example?
Well, yeah, no, before the example, don't just care when things are bad. Care all the time. That's why people are going to follow you anywhere, right? And in the military, it happens that way too. Face it. Uh, 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 let's look at a commander, right? A commander might conduct battlefield circulation, which is like checking on their people, checking on their platoons, not checking up on them, but checking them. I think I mentioned this before that um, or checking on them. Sorry. So I was in a, meeting. I had a great colonel that as one of my mentors, and he had his battalion commanders in a meeting, and he asked him. He said, "Have you went down and touched your equipment yet today?" And this meeting is at like 0530, right? 0530 06. So these battalion commanders probably just got up because they were doing their briefings until late
Yeah,
or
that's what
early
you
in the
do at
morning, however
5:30.
you.
You
Yeah.
get up at 5:30.
So these guys, he said, "Have you went down and touched your equipment today?" And they looked at each other and looked at him and said, "No." Do you know specialist such and such? No. He goes, "Well, isn't it something that me and the sergeant major went down today and visited them, and we know some of these people, and they're in your units, and you don't even know them?" And he goes, I would hope that by tomorrow morning's briefing, you will have met a lot of your troops." And they did.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That reminds me of this is not a suggestion.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and you protect your soldiers from, and not just soldiers, you protect your workers, your employees from unnecessary nonsense, right? We all run into that as leaders. We protect our people, right? That's our job is to protect them. And we also hold high standards, but it's like my kids. I'll talk to my kids. You don't talk to them. You just tell me and I'll take care of it, right? But don't you go down and talk to them like that. You communicate honestly and regularly, even when the news isn't good. And here's the big thing, and I mentioned this before. You know your people's families, their struggles, their goals, and their strengths. If you don't know your people, if you do not know your people, you're not leading them, right? I the way we look at it, it's not just a book, it's not just a catchphrase. Uh, we really do in the military. Leaders eat last, and
Yeah.
it's such a habit that I mean, I've been retired for 20 years. And when we go in, like I say, I'm doing a conference or something, and uh, and the chow comes in, the food comes in. I'll wait till everybody eats before I'll go through the line. So it's just
See,
a habit, right?
that's great. I thought you were letting me cut in the buffet, but no, that was your strategy.
I would never let you cut in on a
Yeah,
buffet.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that consistency builds it's unshakable trust, right?
Yeah.
They trust you. Then they don't follow because of your rank. They follow because they trust you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, it reminds me, like the topic is lead with consistency and care, but to whom? When we go to work, we lead with consistency and care. That's great. But I'll tell you what, I love the movie Meet the Fockers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was here's the circle of trust, and here's where you are. Okay, well, draw a circle, put the people in there that you want to lead and care for, and now you've got your community, and leading with consistency and care is so important. So, yeah, who do you do it for? I mean, Tom's talking about the army, the military. I'm talking about people, and we're also saying you as a leader at work, you've got people that you report to. So do it for those individuals and develop some routine on a daily basis. And you don't have to care right now. You just got to pretend you care because you're going to fake it till you make it.
That's a
All
good
right.
point. Yep.
Yeah. In summary, okay, you don't need any fancy programs or big speeches to build engagement. Just focus on these three things. Share a meaningful vision, connect daily work to the bigger picture, and lead with consistency and care. When you do, your team will stay committed, motivated, and proud to be part of your mission. All right. Thank you so much, Tom. We'll see you next week. And if anybody
Thank
wants to
you.
know the topic, go to leadershipx.tv. And now we're going to let people in who've joined us. Okay, take care.
Thank you.